Good morning, everybody, and welcome to virtual Bible class. I'm so excited you're here. This is an experiment. We have no idea how this is gonna happen, but Mr. Ryan is running the camera and all the tech, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. So first, I have a question for you, and we're gonna do a poll. So parents, you got to be ready on the keyboard. So our first question is, kids, have you guys ever taken a trip with your family? So here's the poll up on the screen. So you've got to answer yes or no. So you guys answer. And then there's a follow-up question. Where did you go? Oh, look, can you guys see the poll and the results rolling in? I don't know if you guys can see this. This is really cool. 100% of people say yes, they've taken a trip. So far. And most people have been to another state. Some have been to another country. And even 3 people have been to another continent. Wow. You guys are well traveled. This is great. Okay, we'll let a couple more votes roll in. Most people have voted. That's pretty fun. Okay, finish up your voting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, what are our results? 100% have been on a trip. Most people now have been to another state. Very cool. So in today's Bible lesson, we're going to talk about a man named, you probably already know it, Abraham, because Abraham took a really, really long trip across 5 different countries, 5 different modern countries. You guys are going to help be my tour guides, and we're going to go follow Abraham's journey. Are you ready? Everybody nod your head yes if you're ready. Yes. Awesome. Okay, very good. Okay, first, like every Bible class we do in geography, what song do we have to sing?
Mother Abraham.
What song do we sing with our big map? Remember?
Continent song.
Yes, thank you. The continent song. Okay. Ryan, are we gonna have everybody sing together? Okay, everybody, are you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Tell me the continent.
Tell me the continent. Tell me
Ready?
America, South America, Europe, Africa. Don't forget Australia. Don't forget Antarctica. Tell me the continent. Tell me the continent. Tell me
Good job, guys. Good job. Okay, so now that we remember where we are in the world, what continent are we on? Say it to your family. What continent are we on? Okay. So Abraham lived on the continent of Asia. So we're going around the globe to the continent of Asia, into the modern day country of Iraq. And Abraham traveled. He started in Iraq. I'll show you on the map in a second, but he made 5 big stops on his trip. He went to, he started in Ur of Iraq. Ur is a city, and it's still there today. In fact, I'll show you where that's at in a minute. And then he went to a city called Harran in Turkey. And then down the Mediterranean coast, he went down to a city called Shechem. And then there was a big famine. He went to Egypt, a big country, and then he came back to the land of Canaan. And so what we'll do is I'll show you a picture from each of these places. Now, we can't really go on Google Earth at the moment because the internet connection is a little choppy. And so I just took a picture of things. So we'll just go one by one. So the first place Abraham started was his hometown of Ur. So you can spell that, U-R. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now, wait a second. Those of you who've been in my class before, do you recognize this big building? Look at it very carefully. It's got several levels. It's got stairs going up. What does that look like to you?
It looks like the Tower of Babel.
Isla got it. It's the Tower of Babel. This isn't the Tower of Babel, but it sure looks like the Tower of Babel, right? So this is called the Great Ziggurat of Ur. And as we learned in our last Bible lesson about the Tower of Babel, the towers were made in this shape called a ziggurat. And there is one in Abraham's hometown. Pretty cool. Okay, let's go to our second spot in Abraham's journey. Wait, hold on. Keep it on this map because I want you to look closely. 2 lessons ago when we did creation, do you remember the names of the 2 rivers?
The names
of the 2 rivers.
Red Sea and the Black
Is
Sea.
Titus
and
River?
Euphrates. That's a good guess.
The names of those 2
Oh,
rivers.
Tigris and the Nile.
Oh, I heard Tigris is correct.
Tigris and the Nile.
Very good. The Tigris and the Euphrates, those 2 rivers were around the Garden of Eden. And guys, that's where Abraham grew up, down there. Remember, we called it the Mesopotamian marshes, the area right down there by the Persian Gulf. And so Abraham started there where that big ziggurat of Ur is in the Mesopotamian marshes. And then what direction did he travel on our map? Can you look at the map? So go from number 1 to number 2. It's like a dot to dot. What direction did he travel following the Euphrates? Look at it closely.
North
And west.
Northwest.
Northwest, right. And so town number 2 is named Harran or Harran. And Harran actually was a really important town back in Abraham's day. They had trade routes where all the people would load up their camels with all the things to buy, like a store. They would have a traveling store on a camel, and they would take it from city to city. And Harran was a very important city. In fact, I have a picture of what it looks like now. Are you ready to see it? Do you want to see it? Nod your head yes. Okay, so let's see number 2. Look, there is a lovely lady standing there in the doorway of the wall there. This is in the city of Harran. Notice their houses. Look really close at the houses. Do those look like our houses? Shake your head no, they do not. Look how they're cone-shaped. They're cone-shaped because it gets really hot there. And the cone shape in engineering makes the heat go up to the top and out. So that way their houses stay nice and cool. Very clever. And look what it's made from. Is it made from wood? No, it's made from mud brick. Very cool. Okay, you ready for number 3? Let's go back to our map and see where Abraham went to next. Oh, but before we do that, how did Abraham travel? Did he just hop in his car and drive?
No, he either traveled by foot or by camel.
Oh,
He walked.
yes, he traveled probably on a camel. Do you want to see what it looks like to travel on a camel? Are you ready? Nod your heads. Okay, now this video, I'm going to turn off my microphone. Actually, Mr. Ryan is turning off my microphone because I want you to use your ears. So close your mouths and use your ears because this video is quiet and I want you to hear the sound of the camel's footsteps. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. guys think? Would you like to travel on the back of a camel?
Yes.
Yes.
That would be so
I don't know. Yes, but no. Yes.
Do you think it's maybe kind of hours and hours just riding along? I mean, some of you have ridden a camel before. Some of you have ridden a horse before. And you know, sometimes that goes kind of slow. And Abraham and his whole family would have traveled like this. And they would have had animals with them and people with them. And everybody would have traveled together in a caravan. They would have traveled all together. Okay, so now let's see where Abraham traveled to in number 3 on our map. Let's go back to our map. Remember, he started at 1 in went northwest to Harran, and then he turned and came back south following the trade route down to a city called Shechem. And Shechem is really important when we get to the story of Joseph, but that's fast forwarding. So for now, I'll just show you a picture of what it looks like today. So this is the modern city of Nablus, but it's built around the ancient city of Shechem, where Abraham would have traveled to. Now, Abraham didn't go to all the big cities back then. He kind of stayed on the outside of the city because remember, he had sheep and probably goats and all kinds of different animals with him. And you can't really, drive those into the city. So he probably just stayed on the outside of all these cities. And so now let's go back to our map and see where he went next. Okay, so number 4, can you see where number 4 is going? Where's number 4? Whoops, hold on. I can't hear you yet. Okay, now everybody tell me. Egypt. Okay, I think you guys know what's in Egypt, right? What's a famous landmark in Egypt?
Hi.
Oh, Finn said pyramid. Is he right? Let's look at our next slide. Here we go. It's coming. And what do you see? Aha. It's like Aladdin. Watch out. They spit. I love camels. Very cool. So Abraham went to Egypt. Most people in the Old Testament, whenever there was a big famine in the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, they would go to Egypt because Egypt usually had a lot of food. And so Abraham did the same. When there was a famine, he went to Egypt. But then he came back once it was finished. So let's go to stop number 5. Oh, yeah, you keep going. So he's going to go back to the land of Canaan, but I wanted to show you something. When he gets back to the land of Canaan, Abraham, it says he pitches his tent. Have you guys ever gone camping and pitched a tent? You know, where you have to put the stakes down and you've got the big frame and you put the tent material over it. Raise your hand if you've gone camping before and you've done a tent. Oh, I see a lot of hands going up. Very cool. Abraham did that too, because Abraham lived like what we call Bedouins. Bedouins are people today who are nomads. So they wander, they walk from place to place with all of their animals and herds, and they follow the good weather and the good grass. And so that's what Abraham and his crew did too. They were like Bedouin. And so you can see Bedouin in this picture here. Their house is a tent. And so they pitched their tent. They're eating around a campfire. Next week, we're going to talk about what they ate. I'm so excited. We might even have cooking too. So I'll tell you more in a minute. But look at their camels. Everything is right around here. So when you see Bedouin, this is what we think of when we think of Abraham. Bedouin have been around since about the time of Abraham. So let's take a look at what comes next. His final stop is actually his final resting place. At the end of Abraham's life, he was buried in the tomb where he buried his wife, Sarah. And if you look at this building, this is the building there today in a city called Hebron. And Hebron has this really amazing building. It's called the cave, the cave of the patriarchs. It is where the tomb of the patriarchs are. So Abraham is buried here. Sarah is buried here. Lots of their family are in here, in this building. And when you go inside, you can actually go inside of it on Google Earth. But when you go inside, you can see they have like a room for each, and they have a coffin in there. Nobody can look in and see the bones because that's not okay. But Abraham is buried in that building. And so this is, again, in Hebron. So that was Abraham's final stop. So Abraham went to all these 5 places. He went to a lot more. We just don't have time to go to all the places. And it's really cool because you can read this in the book of Genesis. Now remember, Abraham did not know where he was going. God just said, go to a place I will show you, and I will give you a great nation. And Abraham didn't have a map. God did not give him a map. So he just followed where God told him to go. And the reason we know where he went is because Moses wrote it all down in the book of Genesis. And so we can see Abraham and his journey. So here's our memory verse. Let's everybody say this together. Are you ready? Okay. Abraham had faith, so he obeyed God.
Called him to go to a place he would later see that his own
He had to
he
go.
didn't
So he went.
Did
Did though. He didn't know where he was going. Hebrews 11. Very good, very good. So that's our memory verse for this whole rotation. So make sure and practice that one at home. And if you have some time later today, go read the story of Abraham from Genesis chapter 11 to 13. You'll also notice when you read this on your own, there are 2 trees mentioned. And those are very important trees. When you read this with your family, see if you can find those 2 trees. Okay, so that is Abraham's journey. Now, when I originally thought about having this class, I thought I was going to do Google Sky and we were going to talk about the stars, but we just don't have time in a 20-minute lesson. So I'm going to be on next Sunday. We'll talk about Sarah's cooking, right? When the angels came to visit Abraham and he said, quick, Sarah, go get the flour. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you how to make bread. Finn's going to be my helper over here. And so that'll be next week. And the week after, maybe we can do the stars. I think we're going to be doing Bible class from home for a while. So I hope that you can join me again next week, and we'll have more fun in Bible class. I think that's all I have for my presentation. Did you show them Sarah's food slide? Okay, perfect. Oh, before we go, I have one last poll. Are you ready? Okay, parents, get to your laptops, your devices. I have a poll. Here it comes. Ryan is bringing it up. Okay. How many miles, estimate how many miles Abraham and his family traveled? You think about it. I will hum the Jeopardy music. 20 seconds. Oh, a couple more votes coming in, a couple more votes. How much longer should we wait, Mr. Ryan? Okay, a couple more seconds. Get your votes in. How many miles do you think Abraham traveled on this very, very long hint journey? I'm so excited to see your answers. 3, 2, 1. Okay, votes are in. 94% of you said 2,000 miles. You are correct. Excellent. Very good. Abraham. Oh, 1,000. That's 2,000. He went over 2,000 miles on a trip. That's longer than from here to Maine, where Finn and our family traveled last summer. We drove there. It was a very long trip. I can't imagine doing it on the back of a camel. So we owe Abraham a lot. And also Abraham is one of our patriarchs. He is a founding father of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam too. All of them look to Abraham because God gave the promises to Abraham. So next week, we'll talk more about how Abraham is special and how he led to Jesus. And I hope you guys had fun today. Everybody wave your hands if you had fun today. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I just love that all of you took time to come join me in Bible class today. I miss you guys. So this was really fun. We're going to record this and I'll put it on my YouTube channel and we'll share it so that our friends who couldn't join us will get to watch it still and enjoy Bible class with you guys. Okay, that's all I have. If you have questions, you can send me a message on Facebook, have your parents do that, and I will compile any questions you have and put some answers when I post it on Facebook. You guys were awesome today. I'll see you next week, okay? Bye. Everybody say bye. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Next time, can we do video?
I'm looking at it.